What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, letting you guys know what the heck happened at YCS Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that just took place over the weekend. And I have to say, as a Yugi tuber, I found myself in a very peculiar situation because obviously Konami decided not to actually live stream the event, and I thought that was going to make it kind of difficult to get all the storylines from the event and see all the tech cards that people were playing. And I was like, damn, this is going to kind of make it difficult to make this video. But just checking in on social media, what people were talking about when it comes to Pittsburgh and reading some of the coverage, it actually wasn't that difficult for me to grasp what people were talking about in some of the crazy storylines that came from the event. And it's strange that there were actually so many, considering that this event was so heavily dominated by one archetype, which I'll talk about in a second. Now, I don't know why Konami didn't live stream this event. To me, that decision is absolutely baffling. I can't even fathom why they would want to do that, considering Maximum Crisis was just released in the TCG. This is the first YCS after Maximum Crisis, so it seems like you'd want to heavily promote that set and, you know, make sure that True Dracos get some feature matches. Maybe you could even throw a Phantasm feature match. Not to mention, you just had the Dinosaur structure deck, which obviously is competitive. That just was released, so it seems like a missed opportunity when it comes to promoting a bunch of matches with the you know, decks that just were released in the new sets and the new structure deck and whatnot. And then you have to think about, unless something is going to change, this is the last YCS, and at least in North America, before the North American WCQ. So we're not going to have any more YCSs for people to actually watch or, you know, participate in before we get the big shebang. So I don't know, it feels like a really missed opportunity. Now, when it comes to the attendance for YCS Pittsburgh, it was definitely respectable. We got ourselves 1,000 people, give or take. I think once you get to that 1,000 people, you can say the attendance was definitely good. Exactly 999, which is a really crazy number, but I think 1,000 has a better ring to it, so let's just go ahead and round up one player. This was won by a member of Team Jobber, and as soon as I saw this kid, I was like, I recognize your face. I might not know your name. This is actually Aaron Furman, but I know his face. And it's not because he's a UDS champion. It's because I just remember, I'm not sure what it was, if it was Seattle or Denver, maybe even YCS Atlanta. I feel like it was YCS Denver, but I definitely remember seeing this kid in like a top 8 or a top 4 match. So he's definitely a good player, and he won with True Draco Zoodiac, which, man, True Draco has obviously made an impact on the event, but the dominance of Zoodiac is like the main takeaway of this event. Now, there was actually one feature match that I absolutely loved because this is super throwback. If you're a newer player, if you started playing the game in like 5D, excuse me, if you started playing the game in like Art V, you might not recognize Del Bolito, but Del Bolito versus Jeff Jones. Del Bolito coming out of retirement, showing that he still has the chops, able to instantly top. This dude, I swear to goodness, winning is just in his fucking DNA or in his blood. If you know his brother, Lazaro Bolito, I said that he was the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh player of all time. Put Jeff Jones in that 2 spot. I put Del Bolito as 10, and it's just really awesome because this feels like a throwback match from like the 5Ds or the GX era. So I was super happy that both of these players actually topped, and then they ended up running into each other. I know that might have been or that had to be a lot of fun for them, but let's go and talk about the main story of the event. And I saw this, guys. I was taken back. I don't care who you are. Some people are going to claim that they called this. I don't think anyone could have predicted this. 32 of the top 32 decks, every single one of them, guys, ran Zoodiac. This is fucking incredible, and it doesn't even make sense. For starters, you Dino players, you True King Dino players, what the hell happened, man? I had a lot of faith in that deck. I was like, yo, this deck is tier 1, probably the 3rd best deck in Yu-Gi-Oh. It doesn't even top. It just didn't do anything at the event. I'm actually shocked that True King Dinos just kind of flopped right out of the gate. Metaphors seemed to have fallen off. ABCs was kind of ABCs was, you know, kind of expected not to top, but I really am surprised that True King Dinos didn't top. And it's interesting because before Maximum Crisis, you saw so many players running Paleozoic, and a lot of people were saying that Paleozoic is kind of like the counter to Zoodiac because Totally Awesome is such a strong card, and obviously 60 card decks became, you know, heavily the meta and stuff like that. And it seems like we've just rewinded to like the beginning of the format, to right when Raging Tempest came out, and it's like everything in the last month and a half or 2 months it just doesn't matter anymore. Invokes just fell off the planet, and now we just have pure Zoodiac dominance. In fact, people have started posting memes about this. Let me see if I can pull up those memes. This is my favorite one right here. It's obviously It's obviously supposed to be Star Wars, and you have Zoodiac Rapier as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it says, "Konami, if you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine." And you've got right here, you have the you got the Drake meme where he's like, that Dragonic diagram, I don't want that. But that Zoodiac Barrage, it is kind of crazy to think how big of a difference there is currently between the OCG and the TCG, where we have these Zoodiac decks, and you're able to play Zoodiac Barrage at 3, and you're able to play Dryden at 3, and these cards are completely banned. And maybe that's why people started playing the deck again, or why Zoodiac was so dominant, because even if you thought Zoo were going to be prevalent at the event, which everybody thought, a lot of people probably thought that Zoo were going to be the best deck going into the event. I personally thought it would be True Dracos. That's just my opinion, which pure True Dracos didn't even top 32 the event. It's so weird that Zoodiac dominated so hard. And I do understand Fusion Substitute and the explosiveness of the deck, but I don't know, man. I just didn't see this coming. The #1 most represented deck in top 32 was just pure plain Jane Zoodiac. I'm not even talking Draco Zoodiac or Kaiju Zoodiac. It was just regular old plain Zoodiac. Like, the same deck that you've been able to run since February is the deck that took the most spots here, and everything else that wasn't running Zoo just got absolutely obliterated. And I don't know, I'm left kind of reeling, because I don't really know what the answer to this, why it is. I thought that True Draco was going to be an unstoppable force. I couldn't think of anything to actually side against it, but I don't know, maybe it just stopped itself. Now, one of the biggest storylines, and one thing that everybody was super excited about, I don't know who wasn't talking about this, Dinomist went 7-1 day 1. This guy was on a fucking tear, and he was like the little engine that could. Everybody was rooting for him. This is Grant Williams. He ran Dinomist, and his build was not only legitimate, but I watched this video, and I highly recommend. I'm going to link the Pro Playing Games video where he got the interview. He was a really intelligent player. Now, the thing is, I've actually played Dinomist before. Here's the deck list right here. His deck actually makes so much sense, and this is just me doing a little bit of theory here. One of the reasons why I think this was the most successful Pendulum deck to come out of YCS Pittsburgh is, #1, it's the only Pendulum deck that I can think of that doesn't automatically lose to like Anti-Spell Fragrance or Imperial Order. Those cards just absolutely wreck Metaphors, and they wreck other decks. Like, I know a lot of people were excited about Zephyr, but let's be real, if your opponent flips over that Anti-Spell, you're not doing anything with those Pendulum cards. Dinomist Howling solves that problem, and I think it's one of the biggest reasons why he actually ended up doing so well at the event. He did make day 2. Unfortunately, he didn't make top 32, but making day 2 at a YCS is still something that you can be proud of, especially when you're playing such a rogue deck. And Dinomist Howling is such an amazing card because you can actually get your Pendulum cards in them scales even though your opponent does have the anti-spell up, and then it actually turns all your Dinomist monsters into basically Magispector Karen at the cost of tributing them. And the thing about Dinomist is tributing them it's never been something that Dinomists are not accustomed to, because Rex and Spinos both have tribute effects built right into them. So Dinomist players tributing their monsters, they're like, okay, we do that all the time anyways. And one card that I saw and I was like, oh my goodness, I feel so validated, because I've messed around with Dinomist a lot. Horn of Heaven is so good in this deck, not just because you're used to tributing, but he said that he was having problems with the True Draco matchup. He said the Zoo matchup is actually really good. I would imagine so, because Zoodiac do a whole lot of targeting, and obviously Dinomists don't really give a fuck if you target them. Half of the skills in the deck basically can stop targeting, the other half can stop destruction, so they don't really care about cards like Dryden, and then if you have charge you can bounce. But the cool thing is, if your opponent does try to normal summon that tribute summon of Masterpiece, you can literally give up just one card. You can give up the Horn of Heaven and one monster. Well, I guess it's 2 cards, but you're gonna Pendulum summon the dudes back anyways. You can just give up a Horn of Heaven and a monster. You get rid of the freaking Masterpiece, and what have they accomplished that turn? They really can't do anything. And this is one of the only Pendulum decks in the game that can actually play Card of the Mayas. Obviously, you can set your scales. You can kind of wall up, because, I mean, he's got like 16 traps, so that's more than enough traps. And even if you do discard a Lost Wind, you can get it back from the graveyard, so that's not that big of a deal if you happen to discard that. And the last thing is, I think it was really smart for him to include 3 copies of Forbidden Challenge so that he can make his deck go second. He can have ways to instantly just negate that Dryden's ability if he's going second and he doesn't want his Pendulum scales getting popped. And I think that power load, playing a couple of copies of that is good. If you've ever played Dinomist, power load is such an amazing card. The problem is it doesn't do anything if you don't have monsters, but it does turn all your dudes into Armatis, and there are so many nice effects with Dinomist where you have this pterodactyl dude who, if you run over a monster by battle, you get the surge. You've got this guy who basically takes the stats down of all your opponent's monsters. And I'm going to say this last thing. One rank 4XC that everybody needs to look out for, because this card is becoming super good, Ragnar Zero. He said that this was the MVP coming out of the extra deck, and that's saying something when you have a deck that can literally summon Cyber Dragon Infinity and Totally Awesome in the same turn, which I don't think any other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh can actually do that. So this was like the big thing that everybody was talking about. They were like, yo, Dinomist is back. And again, I think it's because it doesn't automatically lose to Anti-Spell Fragrance. Dinomist have an extremely good grind game. I could even see him possibly playing Skill Drain in that deck, because it's just, Dinomist is so much just able to outgrind the opponent. Now, one thing I want to talk about is, since Zoodiac were just so dominant in the event, which again, I didn't see coming, man. I honestly thought that it would be True Draco would be probably the best deck, but I thought it would be by a very slim margin. And then I thought Zoodiac would be, and maybe True Draco Zoo would somewhere be in there, maybe as the third best deck, and then Dinos would be like the fourth best deck. Zoodiac Barrage has started to go up, and I talked about this in my market watch yesterday, but it's actually gone up a little more even since then. Card of Demise has actually gone down a little bit, but I actually think Zoodiac Barrage is going to go up, because I think that people's faith in Zoodiac has just been restored. And how could you not consider Zoodiac as the favorite going into the Nationals or the North American WCQ after what we saw at Pittsburgh, guys? I mean, this is just fucking dominance. Not only was it the #1 deck, but every single deck in the entire top 32 was running some type of Zoo engine. I guess I also need to talk about the 60 card variants and what the hell happened to them. Like 60 card Infernoids have basically fallen off the earth. I mean, there were a couple of Zoodiac Infernoids, but still only 2 out of 32. That's not many. I think a lot of it has to do with Ash Blossom and the fact that many people have said, if you go first and you're playing a 60 card variant, if you activate that grass screener and your opponent does have the Ash Blossom, the rest of your hand a lot of times is just, it's not that good, because you only have 4 cards, and unless you have something like a Terratop where it's like a 1 card playmaker, I'm not really sure how much you're really doing there. And I guess the last thing I kind of want to end on is, people are making ridiculous arguments. I'm losing my patience, because I saw Robbie Cole make a video about this. I saw some people on Facebook talking about this, and I'm not going to say drink bleach or kill yourself or anything like that, but I'm thinking, if you are legitimately saying that Fusion Substitute is the problem with Yu-Gi-Oh right now, you seriously need to just shut the F up. Fusion Substitute is, first off, it's just now seeing competitive play. The card came out in New Challengers. It's like a fucking 3-year-old card. It's just now seeing play. It's not the problem. And the easiest way that you can tell that Fusion Substitute is not the problem with Zoodiacs is, what is Fusion Substitute without Norton? It's literally nothing except a card that sees play and maybe Fluffles and Lunar Lights. I think Predaplants might run a copy of it, but I think Ultra Polymerization is probably better in Predaplants than Fusion Substitute. But then think about, what is Norton without Fusion Substitute? Like, Norton without Fusion Substitute would still be the best fusion monster in the last decade, but Fusion Substitute without Norton it's useless. It's only good in the fucking Lunar Lights and Fluffles. That's why when you search it, the first thing that comes up is Fluffle cards. Well, actually search the Fusion Enforcers copy, but that's irrelevant. The thing is, people are trying to say like Fusion Substitute needs to be banned, and it's like, I think that the Yu-Gi-Oh community is getting way too ahead of themselves with banning. It seems like everybody wants everything banned. Remember a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, I saw people talking about on Facebook that True King of All Calamities should be banned, and I'm like, dude, the card takes 2 level 9 monsters to summon. Of course it's going to be kind of powerful, so I don't know. I think these arguments that Fusion Substitute is like limit worthy or ban worthy are ridiculous. I know some people were brought up that maybe Konami might have an emergency ban list before the Nationals or before the North American WCQ. I don't think that they would do that, not because they haven't done emergency ban lists before, but they haven't done them before their biggest event of the year. Like, we're going into national season. I don't think you want to shake up the meta that much right as people have been practicing for like the last month and a half, or, you know, since Maximum Crisis came out. So what do you guys think about the event? It was actually really entertaining to despite the fact that there was no stream. I hope Konami doesn't make a trend of this, but I don't know, between the Dinomist guy and his awesome deck and the pure dominance of Zoodiac, like I could not fathom this actually happening. What the hell happened with Dinos, guys? You guys let me know in the comment section below. What was your favorite takeaway from this event? Thank you guys for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.